So firstly, welcome to the 12th Pan-India Journal Club session. So today we'll be discussing a very interesting topic, which is how the plant-based diet and the animal-based diet can create an impact on the insulin resistance, pre-diabetes, and type 2 diabetes, which is the Rotterdam study. So in today's session, the flow of presentation is going to be the panel introduction will be done by Dr. Suleiman. The study introduction and the conclusion will be done by me, Dr. Sindhura. And methodology will be done by Josna and Dr. Dharani. Results will be done by Srinidhi and Shivani. And the discussion part will be led by Dr. Preetham. So first, let's begin with the panel introduction part. Dr. Suleiman, please take over.
Thank you, ma'am. Am I audible?
Yes, yes.
Thank you, ma'am. Greetings to everyone in the 12th Journal Club of Pan India. We're delighted to see such a nice participation again. And we have done more than 10 sessions, which makes us feel very grateful. I am Suleiman, a second-year student from MBBS student from Bangalore Medical College and part of the team working to spread awareness on better daily dietary choices. Today, I'll be giving the small introduction for the PAN team. Since prevention is better than cure, it forms the fundamental idea of the PAN organization, which is a highly spirited team working towards an approach to build a network globally and internationally to improve the nutrition system with power of right dietary choices. Since a change is always contradicted, hence the PAN team is working rigorously to appeal to the society through evidence-based guidance. And to reach out nationally, this positive movement Pan-India was established in September of 2022 with chronic diseases, cardiovascular diseases, diabetes, and many such preventable diseases reaching new heights. Pan-India has got an aspirational approach, organizing in-person CMEs regularly. Recently, we had one in Ahmedabad, and organizing polls, quizzes, feedback forms, query answer sessions, and our monthly journal clubs to disseminate this information to a wider group, especially through the means of social media platforms, the WhatsApp, Instagram, and LinkedIn. PAN team is headed by our director, Dr. Rajina Shaheen, and it also houses really spirited volunteers, interns, and ambassadors, which include a broad spectrum of professionals, right from medical students, yet in med school, to working, practicing doctors, nutritionists, and much more, all with the goal of improving the broken nutrition plate. And moreover, most importantly, it includes all of you who attend the PAN events and form the backbone of spreading this message. As it's quite evident that the team is showing a positive growth, so anyone interested, we welcome you with open hands and join us in improving their knowledge on dietary choices and be a part of this movement. With the small introduction, I request Dr. Sindhura ma'am to continue the introduction of today's study on the Journal Club paper, which is on the topic insulin resistance in plant versus animal-based diets. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Suleiman. Let's begin today's introduction part. So coming to the study, before I move on to this actual introduction of Rotterdam study, so let's understand the current depth of the diabetes condition currently, either nationally or globally, because we'll be conducting a series of series of JCs on the topic of diabetes in the coming months as well. But we'll be coming up with a very, very interesting topics again. But first, let's understand the impact of the diabetes that's happening globally. So diabetes is one of the largest global health emergencies of this century. So according to WHO, the non-communicable disease accounted for almost 74% of the deaths globally in 2019, of which 1.6 million deaths is the contribution of the diabetes. And the diabetes burden is increasing globally, and specifically in developing economies like India, it's being mainly fueled by the increasing prevalence of overweight or obesity and unhealthy lifestyles. So if we look at the stats of globally, according to the International Diabetes Federation, Diabetes Atlas 2021, 540 million people have diabetes, which is around 3 out of which 3 in 4 adults with diabetes live in low and middle income countries. If you look at the adult population in the age group of 20 to 79 years, 10.5% of the adult population has diabetes, which is currently 1 in 11 adults, and which can slowly progress to almost 1 in 8 adults by 2044. And the approximate population that can be living with diabetes by 2045 is around 783 million, which is going to be an increase of almost 46%. So even if I look at the the predicted increase of the diabetic cases in North America by 2045, it's going to be almost 24%. If you look at specifically Africa, it's going to be 134% increase. And if you look at us Southeast Asia, it's going to be around 68% increase. So each and every part globally, if we see, there is going to be increase by 2045 in the number of diabetic lines. And if we look at the national scenario of the diabetes, in 2019, the number of people with diabetes were around 70 million, which has literally increased within a 4-year span to almost 101 million people, which is almost a whopping 44% of increase in just the past 4 years. And even if we look at the number of people, the number of people with pre-diabetes currently is also around 136 million population, and the national prevalence of diabetes is almost 11.4%. So this itself emphasizes that we need to be looking out for a sustainable solution to stop the progression of this specific lifestyle disorder. Even if you look at the diabetes prevalence also, it's pretty much higher in the southern peninsula with respect to Maharashtra, Karnataka, Kerala, Tamil Nadu, and even a moderate increase even in Telangana, Andhra Pradesh, and even Orissa as well. So it's high time that we need to start incorporating better sustainable solutions and lifestyles which can help combat this specific lifestyle disorder. According to IDF report, lifestyle behavior commonly associated with poor diet like processed and high fat is the most influential factor for the development of type 2 diabetes, and diet being the important modifiable lifestyle determinant. This is what we need to be stressing upon. It's a modifiable lifestyle determinant, and hence we need to be focusing on looking out for a solution through the dietary component as well. So if we look at the dietary determinants, like several plant-based foods such as root vegetables, green leafy vegetables, whole grains, nuts have been associated with a lower risk of type 2 diabetes. But in contrast, if we look at the animal-based foods like including red meat, processed meat, and daily consumption of eggs have been associated with an increased risk of type 2 diabetes. The research has also found that the consumption of red meat, including processed and unprocessed red meat, has led to almost a 62% higher risk of developing type 2 diabetes in the people compared with who ate the least amount. And WHO stresses on promoting the interventions that support healthy diets for a consistent management approach of type 2 diabetes. And the new guidelines suggest that plant-based diet is the optimal nutrition plan for people with diabetes, as it not only promotes the well-being, but also the better management of the diabetic condition. So the current study is the plant versus animal-based diets and insulin and how it's going to impact the insulin resistance and the progression towards pre-diabetes and type 2 diabetes, which is the Rotterdam study. And here are the authors. And this specific study was published in June 2018, which is a prospective cohort study of adult aged 45 years and older living in the well-defined district in the Netherlands. The aim of the study is basically to investigate whether adherence to a more plant-based and less animal-based diet is associated with insulin resistance and the risk of pre-diabetes and type 2 diabetes in the middle-aged as well as the older general population. So although multiple food groups seem to influence the risk of type 2 diabetes, humans generally do not consume just only single food item or food group. So even if you look at the previous studies also, they have observed just a specific dietary diets. They have associated with improved glycemic control and lower type 2 diabetes risk. But however, the previous studies have done dichotomous classification. So hence, it's important for us to know if a more plant-based and less animal-based diet may influence insulin resistance and reduce the risk of pre-diabetes and type 2 diabetes. Previously, such kind of study was done in US, which is only one large prospective cohort study. And it showed that the higher degree of adherence to plant-based diet has reduced the risk of type 2 diabetes development. So studies on the association of such plant-based dietary patterns with type 2 diabetes risk in other populations is also very much needed. And the association of such plant-based dietary patterns with respect to the intermediate risk factors like insulin resistance and pre-diabetes were pretty much unknown. So hence this study aimed to investigate whether the adherence to a more plant-based and less animal-based diet is associated with insulin resistance and increase in the risk of pre-diabetes and type 2 diabetes in the middle-aged and older general population. So this is in short about the introduction of the study. We'll be learning a much more interesting concepts in the discussion part as well. So next begins the methodology. My colleague will be taking over.
We
Yes,
will now
Ross.
move into the methodology. So this is a prospective cohort study which was conducted within the framework of Rotterdam, and the cohorts include 3 subgroups: RS1, RS2, and RS3. These provided the comprehensive data over time for the study. And in the recruitment, initially adults aged 55 years and older were included. After that, it was expanded to even adults older 45 age. And the location of the study is the Ommoord district in Rotterdam, ensuring that well-defined community-based sample is included. Next slide. And for this study, total number of participants registered were around 15,000. The inclusion criteria was when the participants had valid dietary data available at the baseline, and then comprehensive health records without pre-existing type 2 diabetes. And participants were excluded if they did not have these dietary data and if they had diabetes prevalent at the time of inclusion. And based on all this, the final select analytical sample was around 6,798 participants. Next slide, please. This represents the recruitment process I have already explained. And now with the 6,798 participants, they were
You're not audible, Josna. Josna, are you there?
please. And
Josna,
the dietary assessment techniques included an assessment tool. This is a semi-quantitative food frequency questionnaire tailored to the specific dietary patterns of the Dutch population. And this different versions were distributed to different cohorts. The first 2 cohorts used a 170-item questionnaire, whereas the third cohort used a more detailed 389-item questionnaire. This was because that cohort had more of the parameters varying in the insulin resistance and the risk for type 2 diabetes. And then this data was the food intake data was systematically converted into daily nutrient intake using the Dutch food composition tables. Next slide, please. And for categorizing the food intake, they included 23 food items, of which 12 were plant-based and 11 were animal-based. And of this, certain foods which did not actually fit into either of these categories, such as any pizza or dietary supplements, were excluded. And further, the scoring was based on the intake of plant-based diet. If it was more higher is the value that is given, and if they consumed more of animal-based diet, scores were less. And the categories where the index ranged from around 0 to 92. 92 was the maximum scores that were given to people who adhered more to plant-based diet and less to animal-based diet. Next slide. This table represents the plant-based food which were included and the animal-based food which were included of the 23 items. And this is the scoring table. This was based on the quintile ranking. The first quintile had more of plant-based diet, gave a score of 4. And then the lowest was the 5th quintile, in which plant-based diet intake was less, but the animal-based foods were more. That was given more score towards the animal-based food, and the first quintile had more of plant-based food. Over to Dr. Dharani.
Hello. Am I audible?
Yes, doctor.
Hello. Yeah. So here first we measured the serum blood glucose levels and also insulin levels, and we calculated the insulin resistance. And we got all the information from all these databases. And next slide, please. And these are the normal values for diabetes, pre-diabetes, and the normal ranges. And we have taken into consideration of several different co-varieties, such as age, sex, smoking, and educational level, like all of these criterias. And we have also used the questionnaire method. There are two different questionnaire methods we have used. Next slide, please. And also the physical activities, like whether it is walking, jumping, or whatever it is, the metabolic equivalence. And we have taken the body weight and also BMI. And we have also acquired the information of hypertension, cholesterol, heart diseases, etc. And in the data analysis, we have included all the sub cohorts. And we have three different models. In model number 1, it analyzes mostly about insulin resistance. And in model 2, the smoking, educational level, like all those things. And in model 3, it is mainly about BMI. And we have several sensitivity analysis, and we have 7. And in the first one, first we have excluded one of the component of the food, and thereby repeated the whole study, so that we'll just know like which one is affecting or which is causing the insulin resistance. And next one, we've just excluded all the plant-based beverages, which is combined like coffee and tea, something like that. And in the number 3, we have just excluded which less nutrients like potatoes, sweets, etc. Next slide, please. And in the fourth one, we've just examined the correlation between the plant-based dietary score and also the dietary guideline score. And in number 5, we have just adjusted for hypertension and hypercholesterolemia. And next, we have just taken into consideration of participants with, like we have just excluded some participants with CHT, cancer, and stroke. And lastly, we have also excluded and done the study with who have developed prediabetes and type 2 in the first 2 years of follow-up in the analysis and risk of prediabetes and type 2 DM.
So coming to the results, a few of the baseline characteristics of the study population, such as age, BMI, physical activities, hypertension, hypercholesterolemia, family history of diabetes, and educational levels are considered. Also, a series of plant-based food categories and animal-based food categories are also taken into account. Next slide, please. So in the study population of 6,798 participants, the baseline scores on plant-based dietary index ranges from 24 to 75, while the theoretical range is from 0 to 92. The mean age is around 62 years and 41.3% of them are males. The mean BMI is around 26 kg per meter square. Next slide, please. So in this table, it has been derived that the characteristics were similar before and after multiple imputations. For example, BMI in both original mean standard deviation and after imputation is it's around 26.6 kg per meter square. Similarly, hypertension shows 42.3% and hypercholesterolemia is 45.6% and 45.4% respectively. So in this slide, baseline characteristics of the excluded participants are shown, and we can see how there is a variation in the BMI. It shows 27 kg per meter square among participants without valid dietary data and 62 kg per meter square for participants with valid dietary data. Variations are also seen in the subcohorts 1, 2, and 3 as well. So now in this, coming to the association of plant-based dietary index with assessment of longitudinal insulin resistance for the 3 subcohorts. Model 1 has been adjusted for energy intake and sex of the participants. The number of participants are 2,892, 1,389, and 2,233 in the 3 subcohorts RS1, 2, and 3 respectively. The confidence interval is 95% in all the 3 models. The regression coefficients are minus 0.9, minus 0.7, and minus 0.11 for the subcohorts. Model 2 is additionally adjusted for education, smoking status, family history of diabetes, physical activity, and supplement use. Here, the participants are similar and the confidence interval remains the same. And the regression coefficients are minus 0.09, minus 0.06, and minus 0.1 respectively. And finally, the model 3, it's been adjusted for BMI. And the regression coefficients are minus 0.05, minus 0.01, and minus 0.06. So although the values are attenuated, they still remain statistically significant. So now moving on to the plant-based dietary index and incidence of pre-diabetes, 5,768 participants were followed for 43,773 years. And the median follow-up duration was around 5.7 years, and 928 of them developed pre-diabetes. So coming to the association of plant-based diet with the pre-diabetes, 2,492, 1,151, and 2,125 were the number of participants in 3 subcohorts. The confidence interval remains 95%. And the hazard ratio for each of the models. In model 1, it is 0.93, 0.94, and 0.65. In model 2, it is 0.94, 0.94, and 0.66. So this shows that higher score on plant-based dietary index has led to lower incidence of pre-diabetes. Finally, in model 3, hazard ratio is 0.96, 1, and 0.70, and the values are no longer statistically significant. But on the whole, we derive that an increase in intake of plant-based diet has shown a decrease in the risk for insulin resistance as well as pre-diabetes. Over to Shri.
Srinidhi, are you there?
Thank you, Shivani. So now I will be discussing about plant-based dietary index and the incidence of type 2 diabetes. The study population consisted of 6,770 individuals, representing a sizable cohort for analysis. Over the course of the study, participants were followed for a total of 54,024 person-years. This extended follow-up duration allows researchers to capture long-term trends and changes in health outcomes, providing a very comprehensive understanding of the relationship between dietary pattern and the risk of developing type 2 diabetes. Median follow-up years was 7.3 years, and the primary outcome of the study is that 642 individuals developed type 2 diabetes during the follow-up period. Next slide, ma'am. So this slide presents the key findings regarding the association between adherence to a plant-based diet and the risk of developing type 2 diabetes. The significant association observed suggests that individuals with higher adherence to a plant-based dietary pattern have a lower risk of developing type 2 diabetes. In model 2, the hazard ratio of 0.82 for every 10 unit increase in the plant-based dietary index indicates an 18% reduction in type 2 diabetes risk, independent of other factors. Despite a slight attenuation in model 3 after adjusting for BMI, the association does remain statistically significant, highlighting the potential role of plant-based diet in type 2 diabetes. Next slide, ma'am. So the graph in the slide and the tabular column in the next slides depicts the consistency of the association between plant-based diet and the type 2 diabetes risk across different subgroups within the study population. By examining the subcohorts based on demographic and baseline characteristics, the investigators can assess whether the observed associations are generalizable across diverse population. The consistent findings across subcohorts indicate that the protective effect of plant-based diet against type 2 diabetes is robust and not influenced by age, sex, or baseline BMI. And this also further strengthens the validity and applicability of the study findings. Next slide, ma'am. So this study systematically evaluated the effects of excluding individual food from the plant-based dietary index, as well as groups of less healthy plant-based food and all plant-based beverages combined. So despite the exclusions, the association estimates of insulin resistance, pre-diabetes risk, and type 2 diabetes risk remains consistent, indicating that the overall findings are not heavily influenced by specific food items or categories. As you could see in the slides, excluding all the plant-based beverages combined, like your coffee, tea, alcoholic beverages, did not substantially change the estimates, which were quantified by the beta coefficient for insulin resistance, the hazards ratio for pre-diabetes risk, and also the hazards risk for the type 2 diabetes risk. Next slide, ma'am. Again here, excluding less healthy plant-based food combined also did not significantly affect the associations for insulin resistance, pre-diabetes risk, and type 2 diabetes risk, as quantified by beta coefficient of -0.09 for insulin resistance, hazards ratio of 0.90 for pre-diabetes risk, and type 2 diabetes risk for hazards ratio of 0.83. Next slide, ma'am. So the graphs in this slide depicts the association of plant-based dietary index with risk of pre-diabetes and type 2 diabetes after excluding each one of the 23 components one by one at a time and additionally adjusting for the excluded one. So as you could interpret from the graph, there are not significant changes when we remove each food from the 23 components. Next slide, ma'am. This slide highlights the comparison between plant-based dietary score and the dietary guideline score. The study found a low positive correlation between the score, indicating some alignment, but not complete overlap between adherence to a plant-based diet and adherence to a dietary guideline. Controlling for the dietary guideline score did not substantially alter the association estimate for insulin resistance, pre-diabetes risk, and type 2 diabetes risk, suggesting that the observed association are independent of overall dietary quality as assessed by standard dietary guidelines. Again, all these three are quantified by three parameters, which are the beta coefficient for insulin resistance and the hazards ratio for diabetes risk and type 2 diabetes. Next slide, ma'am. The study found that the impact of additional adjustment for hypertension, hypercholesterolemia, and baseline chronic diseases as covariates did not significantly change the effect estimate for insulin resistance, pre-diabetes risk, and type 2 diabetes risk, indicating that the observed association are robust and not confounded by these common health conditions. Also, excluding participants with chronic diseases at baseline also did not substantially alter the association estimate, further supporting the robustness of the findings. So now I request Dr. Preetham ma'am to take the discussion forward.
Thank you, Srinidhi, and thank you for the brief introduction, the methodology, as well the results. So in the introduction only, ma'am has covered everything about the diabetes mellitus and all. So where the lifestyle and the diet is one of the way of approach to combat the insulin resistance, that is, and also we can lower the risk of pre-diabetes and type 2 diabetes. In the present study here, in the present slide, it shows the overall result. That is, the diet higher in the plant-based food and lower in the animal-based food was associated with the lower insulin resistance and lower risk of pre-diabetes and type 2 diabetes. Even in the study, we have got that high healthy plant-based index and unhealthy plant-based or the less healthy plant-based foods. So that's why it was suggested that the plant-based diets are suitable for all the people at all the stages of life, as long as they are well balanced and planned. Yes. So that we can say it as prevention is better than cure. So we need to make a better choices, wise choices. So even the insulin resistance is covered in the previous slides. So I'll just brush up it. So as we have just the insulin resistance is, we can say it as a core of this pre-diabetes risk factor of this pre-diabetes and type 2 diabetic conditions. So in this condition is what it is, a condition in which the multiple tissues in the human body become resistant to the effect of insulin. And also the insulin resistance is a common in the individuals with who are having this, who are the obese and also the type 2 diabetes, in which is where we can see the circulating insulin levels are frequently increased. And how? Means we can say that the major thing is what the intake. Okay, which is we can say that here in the picture or the figure, we can see that most of these processed food or the saturated foods, the fatty acids, so like the palmitic or the stearic acid and also the processed food, they are the potent inducers of these insulin resistance. And also here the pictures, which is again shows the insulin resistance, what is actually the insulin resistance and all. So where actually the effect of the insulin may be due to the buildup of these dietary fat. What happens in the cells? Again, these cells starts ignoring the glucose, right, in the blood, so that to burn this excess fat. So that we can see in the picture that constantly increases the the glucose in the blood, and in turn again it pressurizes, or we can say that insulin demand happens on the pancreas, again in turn which results in increasing the hunger as well as the fat storage happens. Over the time it leads to the diabetes mellitus and the obesity and other complications, cardiovascular and all. So we can say that most of the research articles and also the documentaries, which gives us a beautiful understanding that by having the low fat, like in three pillars, we can say by having the low fat, that is and the plant-based, we can say that whole food plant-based diets, which helps in combating the or reducing this insulin resistance and also the risk factors of the obesity, the type 2 diabetes. So that's why we need to make a dietary, as I said, the wise dietary choices we need to make, because that is the key driver of the insulin resistance. So especially even in the aging and even the population who are more sedentary workers. So by increasing, like as I said, we need to have the low fat foods. So if the foods which are high in the saturated fatty acids, which are the foods like the fast foods, animal fats, the refined grains, and the sugar sweetened beverages, these are all play a critical role in rising the rates of the type 2 diabetes worldwide. And also if we come to the plant-based diet, where the eating pattern that emphasizes the legumes intake, the whole grain intake, vegetables, fruits, nuts, and also seeds, and which reduces or devoid of the animal products or the small animal products, so that lower intake of the animal product. These are especially potent in preventing the type 2 diabetes. So along with this, even the whole, by changing our lifestyle, that is the root cause of the, these are all the root causes. So by changing our lifestyle, we can ameliorate these comorbidities and we can reduce the risk. Yes. So this is from that present study, where we have already in the result part, they have explained we have got the different food components, in which there we have got a less healthy plant-based diet intake scores, which showed a null association with the decrease of this insulin resistance and the risk of pre-diabetes and type 2 diabetes, where it showed a positive association with the higher intake of a healthy plant-based food groups and lower intake of the animal-based food, so that we can clearly notice that it is not only if someone says that we are having the plant-based diet, it is not this thing. So that is means we need to emphasize the quality of the plant-based as well, right? So in the study, what they have done, they have increased the fruit intake, that is from 95 to 200 gram per day, and also increased the vegetable intake from 100 to 260 gram per day, and reduced the meat intake from 129 to 55 gram per day. So which ultimately, or which decreased, which showed the improve of this plant-based dietary index by 10 units and decreased the risk of diabetes by 13%. Yes. So the following 3 slides, which supports this current, we are presenting the study, which supports this study. So the Satija and the co-workers, they have studied the plant-based dietary pattern and the incidences of these type 2 diabetes in the US men and the women. It is a large population study, which is 3 prospective cohort studies were combined. One is the nurses health study 1 and 2, and also the health professional follow-up study. So we can see here, it is a pooled hazard ratio for the type 2 diabetes according to the declines of, one is the overall plant-based diet, one is the healthful plant-based dietary index, the other is the unhealthful plant-based dietary index. The color codings are also given here. So we can observe there is a strong inverse relationship was found between the healthful plant-based dietary index and the type 2 diabetes. That means the individuals, those who are all adhering to the healthier plant-based diet, they have the lower risk of developing this type 2 diabetes. On the other hand, those who are having this unhealthy plant-based diet, or the unhealthy plant-based diet index scores are high. On the other hand, that showed the positive association with the type 2 diabetes, which indicates there is a higher risk of developing the type 2 diabetes. And also the other is the Adventist Health Study 2, which comes, they have studied under the category of the lifestyle, diet, and the diseases. This is also a large population study which showed the interaction between the dietary groups and with the diabetes. That is the vegan, lacto-ovo vegetarian, pesco-vegetarian, semi-vegetarian, and non-vegetarians. So in this, the vegan, lacto-ovo, and the semi-vegetarians, that has showed a protective against the diabetes, where we can see the lower odd ratios, which is tending more towards the vegan. Okay, that is complete or devoid of the animal products and also the processed foods and all. We can have a better lifestyle, better health. Yes, next. Yes. So this is about the study of the animal red meat study. That is just a second. Okay. So where they have in the study they have replaced the animal products or the red meat and the processed meat with the plant-based foods. In this is Australian. They have studied in the Australian adults. And also means in the methodology or how they have followed this research is that they have modeled like 1 serving, that is 65 gram per day, lower intake of red meat. That means they have taken, replacement happened by with either with the legumes, nuts, seeds, or the whole grains. That is, they have taken the legumes around 75 grams and nuts and seeds for 30 grams and also the whole grains 40 grams. So which showed that, so it is associated with with replacing this, it showed the higher insulin sensitivity happens. Yes. And the other study is like dairy. It showed or it may decrease the insulin sensitivity. So here, this is the American journal which is published. It is a randomized trial of the 72 participants, which is followed for the 12 weeks. They have just divided the participant into 3 groups. One is having the limited dairy fat, that beyond means no dairy beyond the 3 servings, and the dairy fat. The next group is a low fat dairy diet, which at least 3 servings of per day they have taken, and the full fat dairy diet, which is more than 3 servings per day. So this showed that where it showed that the low fat and the full fat dairy products, or the overall all the groups, they didn't show any significant differences. However, so after 12 weeks, we can say that both this full fat and the low fat dairy showed the worse insulin sensitivity than the limited dairy diets. Maybe because of this branched-chain acid, which is present in the milk, the dairy products, we can say. And even in the red meat, in the previous study, we have just looked at, right? The replacement of this, the red meat and all. Even the red meat also, it has the branched-chain amino acids, which is one of the contributing for this insulin resistance. Apart from that, even in the red meat, so that is the heme iron, and also what about this advanced glycation end products. So, and also the L-carnitine. So these are all eventually that conversion to the TMAO, which is finally again the inflammation happens and then leads to the complications like diabetes, cardiovascular and all. So coming to the mechanism, so as we see that there are many factors which affect the insulin resistance, in which the excess body fat is also one factor. Okay, that too, especially which is around the belly. So by reducing this body fat, which shows that where we can mitigate many of the associated complications. So in this figure, we can clearly notice that plant-based diets and the mechanism. So in reducing the body fat, because these plant-based diets, they are high in the polyphenols, high in the unsaturated fatty acid, low in the saturated fats, high fiber, high water content, and low animal product intake. I mean, low animal products. So this effect of this plant-based diet and this its interplay of this of an organ system for the weight loss, it has we can see in the figure, where this they are rich in the polyphenols again, and also on the other hand we can see that this plant-based diet it has the calorie density is less. We can see here the vegetables, fruits. So as and when that the foods which are higher in the water and the fiber, they are typically more calorie dilute, and the foods which are dry and have the less fiber and the higher in the fat, they are the calorie dense foods. And so overall that, yes. And the polyphenols, I'll just explain. This is overall mechanism is given. I'll just explain it as much as short, right? Previous only, ma'am. Yes. So the polyphenols and the unsaturated fatty acids, we can see here, even that also color-coded one, that which act on a muscle, liver, adipose tissues, mainly to upregulate, it's going to upregulate the expression of these peroxisome proliferator activated receptors. So in which this promotes the beta oxidation, resulting in that means the circulation. It decreases the circulation of the free fatty acids so that there is no uptake of the free fatty acids by the adipose tissues. In turn, it helps in the insulin, improves the insulin sensitivity as well. And on the other hand, we can see here, even this polyphenols act on the, in the adipose tissues, it act on the uncoupled proteins. That's where this uncoupled protein have the role of this regulating the energy balance, body temperature and all, which increases the thermogenesis, right? And also, as I said, they are the high in fiber and water. We know that it increases the satiety. I mean, it gives the fullness and also decreases. We know that we have studied, means we have just looked into the calorie density, this thing. And also in the large intestine, again, these low intake of the animal products, which decreases the TMAO, that is trimethylamine N oxide, and simultaneously it increases the metabolic active adipose tissues. Yes, next. So in detail, just we go into the gel. What is the mechanism of particular the phenols, polyphenols, legumes, and all. So in this, the one is the sources of these polyphenols, that is the fruits and vegetables, and also the tea and the coffee. Here are the sources for the polyphenols, that is fruits and vegetables, and also the polyphenols which are present in this, that is flavonoids, the phenolic acids, lignans, stilbens, and also resveratrol and all. So these, apart from, we know that these fruits and vegetables, they're rich in the fiber and all, we know that, right? So addition to these, so we have got the polyphenol or the phenolic compounds, which are responsible or which we act as a potential agent for the reducing the diabetic. That is, it got a anti-diabetic effect. So these polyphenols mainly maintain the survival and the function of these, again, the pancreatic beta cells through the reduction of these oxidative stress. For example, the ferulic and the chlorogenic acid, which is present in the tea and all, it reduces the reactive oxygen species levels. So, and also in turn, the inflammation and the protein glycation is also reduced. So how actually how actually this mechanism happens. It is there is the different mechanisms are there, in which one, this polyphenols increase the incretin secretion. We can see in the picture, it increases the incretin secretion by stimulating the activity of this L cell in the gut, and also this inhibits the activity of this dipeptidyl peptidase 4 enzyme, so that which is the one enzyme which is rapidly break down the GLP, glucagon like peptide. Okay, one, and also the other incretins, so that the polyphenols allow the GLP-1 to remain active for a longer period, so that which decreases the insulin resistance as well. And we can see even it has a role in the muscle, liver, pancreas, and also in the adipose tissues. So coming to the pulses, so this figure illustrates the potential mechanism of these legumes on reducing the insulin resistance and managing the type 2 diabetes. This is the makeup, that is the composition, that is a carbohydrate, dietary fiber, and the proteins. In the carbohydrate, we know that it is a it has got the slowly digestible starches we have got, and the resistant starches. So a slowly digestible starter itself says that the digestion takes place at the slow rates. Again, it confers the heavily good health benefits when stabilizing the glucose metabolism, and also increases the satiety, that enhances the satiety and all. And if we come to the resistant starches, it improves this also resistant starches improves the insulin resistance by different mechanisms or the pathways, in which one is the bile acid signaling, so where it plays a role in the lipid metabolism, okay, and also the glucose homeostasis. And the resistant starch is what it says, at the resistance to the enzymatic digestion, right? So the fermentation happen in the colon, so that again it produces the short chain fatty acids, which inhibit the breakdown of these fat tissues, and again it lowers the circulations of these free fatty acid, so that it enhances the insulin sensitivity. Along with this, and also we have got even the pulses bioactive compounds are also plays an important role. So these bioactive peptides that demonstrate the inhibitory effects on the enzymes like alpha amylase, alpha glucosidase, and also the dipeptidide peptidase. So this what happens? This slow down the carbohydrate breakdown and leading to the moderate glucose release. On the other hand, so this dipeptidyl peptidase, the fourth, that inhibition can prolong the activity, again what I said in the previous slide. So it prolongs the activity of the incretins such as the GLP-1 and the GIP, which enhances the insulin secretion, and simultaneously it suppresses the glucagon production. So and this even the pulse protein hydrolysate. So okay, this also have the potential to control the glucose uptake by inhibiting this glucose transporter, and also the sodium glucose co-transporter. So that overall, which helps in enhancing the insulin sensitivity. Yes. Just a second. Yeah. So actually, so this whole grain composition, what is there? I mean, which is have the complex carbohydrates and the fiber. One of the study from the Framingham offspring cohort, which has studied this carbohydrate nutrition and the insulin resistance, where the whole grain intake, it is largely attenuated with, we can say that the cereal fiber, it showed the inversely associated with the HOMA-IR. That is the HOMA-IR, which is one of the marker for this insulin resistance. And also this increasing this whole grain intake, which is high in the cereal fibers, right? And also which are having a low glycemic index, that can reduce the risk of developing the metabolic syndromes. And the picture, which is in the right hand, we can say, I'll just overall summarize it. So the sources of this complex carbohydrates necessarily, which produces the, again, short chain fatty acids. And also when we have the foods, the plant-based foods, so there where we get the diversification will be there of these fruits, vegetables, whole grains, legumes, and all. And again, if we have the higher microbiota diversity, then it increases the accessibility of this complex carbohydrate, and again it promotes the diverse short chain fatty acids, which serves as the energy source for the host. And these short chain fatty acid, it's going to activate the G protein coupled receptors, which is leading to release of this GLP, that is glucagon like peptide. So which enhances the insulin sensitivity and induces the satiety. So G protein coupled, just a second, one more is there. That is the G protein coupled receptor 14. Again, it stimulates this peptide. In the figure, we can see it stimulates the peptide YY, which influencing the gut motility. And also the short chain fatty acid, one is that the butyrate, which increases the regularity of the T cell activity, which is going to suppress the chronic inflammation as well. So that there is no further risk of any type 2 diabetes. The insulin is, yes. Yeah. So coming to the mechanism and the action of the role of the nuts, we can here also we can see that the nut is the have the macronutrient content, micronutrient, and the other bioactive compounds, that is the carbohydrate, that is the fiber and low GI, and excuse, the unsaturated fatty the fats they are related with, for example, the MUFA and all. We have got the vitamins, minerals, polyphenols and all. Here again, this carbohydrate or the fiber or the low glycemic, it regulates the postprandial glycemic and insulinic levels. And where this unsaturated fats, that's MUFA, that increases the satiety and also and also this it is going to modulate this incretin. That is what again the incretin modulation happens. That is it is one of the nut strategy where it helps in the body to better control the insulin as well as the blood sugar levels naturally, so that it is benefited in the patients who are having the type 2 diabetes. And also this controls the CMF, we can see here, and the lipogenic gene expression. That is, the nut is going to control it is going to control the regulation of those genes which are responsible for the lipogenesis and the lipid metabolism, so that maintaining that lipid homeostasis happens. And also we know that these nuts, they have the good anti-inflammatory effects and also the antioxidant properties and all. And also it has the protection against the beta cell against the glucose toxicity and all. So with these these nuts act on the in general, it acts as a gene expression, microRNAs, microbiota, metabolomics, sorry. So overall, it is going to reduce their body weight, which helps in managing our weight, and also it regulates the postprandial glucose, and also it improves the insulin secretion and simultaneously decreases the insulin resistance. Overall, finally, it helps in reducing or prevention on the management of the type 2 diabetes. So coming to the strengths. Sorry. Yes. So coming to the strengths of the study, we have, this is a large population based cohort. So, and also have the long follow-up periods. And also the utilization, in the study, they have utilized the multivariable models, and which is confounding various confounding factors, so that it enhances the robustness of these findings. And also this is a comprehensive assessment is there, including this insulin resistance, pre-diabetes and type 2 diabetes, which shows that holistic view of the impact of the plant-based diet. And consistent results are also across the different outcomes, which indicates the reliability and validity of this association. And if we come to the limitations, the excluding the early pre-diabetes is happened. And also the reliance of the self-reported dietary data, that is the food frequency questionnaire, that maybe sometimes it happens, there is a measurement error and recall bias may happen. So this is one of the limitation. Thank you. Snow. Thank you. Sindhura ma'am, you can take. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Preetham, for such a detailed explanation on the mechanisms of how each and every food group can help in reducing the risk or preventing the occurrence of insulin resistance or pre-diabetes and type 2 diabetes. Thank you so much. So now coming to the conclusion. So as you already have, as Preetham has already dealt in much more detailed way, so I'll just quickly summarize of the entire study. So if we look at the various factors that can impact the insulin sensitivity, is the kind of the complexity of the diets that we are consuming, or the changes in the body weight, the percentage of fat mass it could be, or the percentage of the lean mass, the kind of physical activity that we are into, and the environment and the kind of medication, the drugs that we take, and obviously the genetics. So these are all the various factors that can affect the insulin sensitivity. And other than this, if you look at the dietary components, obviously, if you look at the unsaturated fats, high fiber diets, low GI diets, an inclusion of complex carbs like cereals and all, they are going to improve the insulin sensitivity. And on the other side, if you look at the foods rich in trans fats or saturated fats, or the overall excess fat intake with around more than 37% of the total caloric intake, or consuming high GI diets, or consuming more amount of BCAAs or high protein diets or animal based protein, it can definitely make an individual more insulin resistant as well. So in short, if we look at the types of diets and their risk towards a type 2 diabetes, so based on the study, the minimally processed foods and fiber-rich foods and bioactive compound-rich plant-based foods, they tend to reduce the risk of type 2 diabetes. And when it comes to mixed grains, dairy, eggs, fish, and poultry, they have a kind of a neutral association. And when it comes to the sugar-sweetened beverages, refined grains, and most importantly, the red meat, whether processed or unprocessed, it is going to increase the risk of type 2 diabetes. If you look at the mechanisms, by consuming the plant-based foods, the risk of type 2 diabetes can be decreased by reducing the body weight, the body fat percentage, and as well as finally reducing the insulin resistance. And also, the unsaturated fats can impart their beneficial effects on the insulin secretion and the insulin resistance or the insulin sensitivity. And also the metabolic benefits of the bioactive compounds that are available in the plant-based foods also can add on to the share in reducing the risk of type 2 diabetes. And most importantly, by consuming the healthy plant-based diets, it can help in creating a positive diet microbiome interactions. That is a good concentration of probiotics and the symbiotics and the prebiotics can be provided by consuming a good the good quantity and the quality of the plant-based foods. And if you look at the consumption of more processed meat or the red meat and the animal-based foods, it can lead to the postprandial spikes in the blood sugar and insulin from rapidly digested grains, starches, and sugars. And it can also lead to hepatic DNL or de novo lipogenesis, where the fat formation can occur. And the oxidative effects of the heme ion lipid oxidation products in the red meat can also lead to the increase in the risk of type 2 diabetes. And most importantly, by consuming such kind of foods, it can actually lead to a microbial dysbiosis in the gut, which can lead to reduced microbial diversity and increased pro-inflammatory species, and finally leading to the insulin resistance, which can put an individual at a progressive risk of development of pre-diabetes and type 2 diabetes. So from the study, in this large population-based cohort, higher adherence to an overall plant-based diet is definitely associated with lower longitudinal insulin resistance and lower the risk of pre-diabetes and type 2 diabetes, thus indicating a protective role of diets high in plant-based foods, and specifically healthy plant-based foods and low in animal-based foods in development to type 2 diabetes. So these promising findings call for further exploration of overall plant-based diet recommendations aimed at type 2 diabetes prevention. So in short, we would like to present you certain whole food plant-based diet takeaways. So if an individual wants to shift to the slowly want to change their healthy lifestyle, because since we are dealing with the lifestyle changes, sudden changes might not be sustainable. So slow and steady incorporation of the right kind of foods and the right kind of quality can definitely make an individual adhere to these kind of healthy dietary patterns, which can impart a lot of positive benefits towards the health. If you look at what exactly the whole food plant-based diet includes, predominantly it includes the major part of whole fruits and vegetables, which are just loaded with a good amount of dietary fiber and the right kind of sugars. And also it includes the moderate amount of whole grains as well as the legumes, which are again a good source of protein as well as the dietary fiber when it comes to legumes, and also a good quantity inclusion of the leafy grains. And most importantly, when it comes to the fat, it indicates, it promotes the inclusion of healthy fats, most of the hidden fats, rather than going for the visible fats or the edible oil consumption. So try to get most of your fats from the healthy food sources like nuts and seeds. And here are a beautiful samples of, this is a whole food plant-based diet snack plate, and this is a meal plate, which is just loaded with protein as well as a good amount of dietary fiber and a lot of bioactive compounds as well, which can impact a lot of the benefits that whatsoever Dr. Preetham has discussed till now. And not only that, one most important point, which is the need of the hour. As we can see, the climatic conditions are changing drastically, and I think the climatic change, we can start right from our dinner plates as well, or from our dining table as well. So by incorporating a healthy plant-based food, we can not only change our human health, but we can also change the planetary health as well, or we can also contribute our share towards the planetary health and to the climatic change, which is the much need of the hour. So it is up to us what we'll be deciding. So if we choose the right kind of a meal plate, it can not only impact our own health, but it can also impact the planetary health, which is the need of the hour, and which is what the best gift that we can give to our future generations as well. So thank you so much, everyone, for taking time out and joining in today's session. So any queries, we would love to answer them. And also, please do let us know how you felt about today's session. Was the discussion helpful for you, insightful? Please do let us know in the chat box, so that can really keeps us motivated and encouraged to bring even more interesting sessions, interesting topics in our future sessions as well.